Hello and welcome to this special broadcast. Now, India continues to see a spike in COVID cases, and this is happening amidst news that a double mutant COVID variant has been found in the country. So, over the next few minutes, let's simplify for you what exactly is double mutation. Now, mutations in viruses are common, but most of them are insignificant and do not cause any change in its ability to transmit or cause a serious infection. But some mutations, like the ones in UK or South Africa variant, they can lead to more infections and in some cases become even more deadlier. A double mutation essentially is two mutations coming together in the same virus. Now, this double mutation allows the virus to escape the immune system and make it more resistant to our immune response. In some cases, immunity against the vaccine as well cannot be formed against this new mutation. Now, what are these two mutations that India is currently dealing with? They are in their genome sequencing names, the L452R, which is the same as found in California, USA, and the E484Q, which is an India indigenous mutation of the virus. So basically, there may be a separate lineage developing in India with the combination of these two and thus forming a new strain. So is this more infectious, more deadly? Well, so far the government has denied that the rise in cases has anything to do with these new mutations, but it's too early to say because experts have asked the government to step up the genome sequencing efforts and try and understand more about this double mutation. So, joining us on the program now to take some of those questions regarding this double mutation and genome sequencing around it, very glad to have with us Dr. Rakesh Mishra. He's the Director for Center for Cellular and Microbiology, Hyderabad. He's actually somebody, he and his team has worked on doing the genome sequencing of this double mutation and what this is. I'm joined by Dr. Sumit Ray, back with us on the program, and also Dr. Mohammed Asil. He's the core team member of the COVID-19 task force in Kerala, one of the states where this double mutation is actually seeing a spike. Dr. Mishra, let me first start by asking you, I tried to simplify for our viewers on how exactly this double mutation works. Could you just add on to it and perhaps address the most pressing question at this hour, that is this more infectious, more deadly than what India has currently been dealing with?
Thank you. So, double mutation essentially means, as the name suggests, that a variant that is going with two mutations together, and that's how it becomes signature for this variant, which we have yet to give a name. Whether they emerge simultaneously or one emerged before, or one maybe like 452 came from earlier some lines, and then 484Q got built on that. These things are difficult to answer, but at the moment we know that in the country, in some states, it is up to 20% of the variants among what we have sequenced.
When you say some states it's 20%, you're talking about Maharashtra? That's where this double mutation has been found in maximum numbers?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, in Maharashtra. But interesting thing is that we have seen, for example, in Nagpur region, this double mutant is there from December in about the same proportion. So it doesn't look like this is expanding very rapidly or something. These are early days. We have sequenced few hundred, so we can't say with very final confirmed way. But it doesn't look like this is something which is spreading very fast. But it is there, and therefore it is any variant is a matter of concern as long as it's in sufficient number.
Okay. So right now, sir, we understand that there is genome sequencing happening of lots of strains in the country. We know like the numbers in Punjab are high because a lot of UK strain is there. Could you give us a breakup of which are the states at the moment which have the maximum number of this double mutant?
So maximum number of double mutant, in fact, in overall about 10,000 sequences have been done, maybe 11, 12, 10,000 few hundred. And out of this, most of these are actually from Maharashtra, over 200, maybe 230 odd are from Maharashtra. Next highest is Delhi, which is less than 10. And other states, for example, Telangana, Andhra, have less than 2% of double mutants. And if it will pick up and spread and become a bigger headache, we do not know. But at the moment, it doesn't seem to be expanding or causally linked to the rise in the cases.
Right.
Yeah, and other places don't have many of these.
Right. So you're saying it is a cause of concern, not panic just yet, from what I'm understanding from you.
Yes.
All right. You also spoke with me earlier and you said that this new double mutation, which is yet to get a name really, is efficient, but it is not a super spreader. So you're saying it has potential and perhaps we need to study this more to understand more traits?
Exactly. So we have just identified the sequence. We don't know the biological property of this. So for example, now we are culturing this in the lab. In coming week, we'll know that how efficiently antibody raised by vaccines will be able to neutralize it. Are the people infected earlier, their sera will be neutralizing it. That we will come to know about that, because there is some report earlier, at least for L252-452R, that it is an immune escaper. But these are very complex things. So one mutation is not all. Some other mutation can compensate or enhance the property we are talking about. So like 452L, which it is known from the March in Denmark, and later in the later part of last year it was seen in UK, in
California
US in
as
large
well.
Numbers. Yeah, in California in large numbers. But its properties in context of other mutation, like here we are talking double mutation. Maybe we will talk after some time triple mutants or more, because as more and more we sequence, we will be able to establish the entire signature of something which is spreading more. And then, as I said, with the experiment, we'll be able to tell whether it is going to ignore the vaccines or not. At the preliminary stage, at this moment, I can say that since we are not seeing this as a reinfection case, it looks like it will not ignore vaccines, so probably vaccines will work. But as I said, this is early speculation. If it was going to ignore the vaccine and reinfect people, we would have seen it significant reinfections, and where this sequence would have come out.
That was actually going to be my next question, on whether or not the vaccines currently in the country, the two vaccines, Oxford AstraZeneca and the Bharat Biotech Covaxin, will they stand against these strains? You're saying there is no reason yet to believe that they will not. But then isn't the question, sir, that India needs to open itself up to other vaccines like Pfizer, like Moderna? Clearly, when you've done the genome sequencing and found it in US, is it time that India should open itself to these vaccines now?
Oh, I have no doubt about that we should open as many vaccines as possible and vaccinate as fast as we can. It is the matter of time. If we vaccinate fast, it will have better results. If we do the same thing over a period of 1 year, 2 years, it may be very, very less effective, because virus also is competing. So we have to outrace the virus by very high rate and fast vaccination for the entire, as much as possible.
Right.
So there is already some.
Right.
Go ahead.
One more thing I wanted to understand from you, Doc, that, smaller cities compared to the metros, we earlier saw a lot of concentration of the second spike happen only in metros. But have you found in all the genome sequencing that you're doing that this is spreading in smaller cities as well? Is it time that they need to sort of bring in more curbs as well?
Yes, so that is kind of expected, and metros, because there were more infection, we have ourselves carried survey and seen in city like Hyderabad, there is a 56% seropositivity, and all major cities seropositivity is very high. So that means there is some protection people have got from the first round of infection. And where seropositivity is low, for example, the state of Kerala or smaller cities, those people are more vulnerable in some ways.
More vulnerable, you say, right?
So that is why you are seeing more surge in those places now. So vaccine is a very good tool we have, and that is how we can reduce the impact of this surge. Otherwise, it might go even worse than the previous surge that we had several months back.
All right.
But the vaccine is a good tool at the moment, and there's no reason to think that these variants are a big problem for the vaccine. But we have to make fast moves.
Great. Lots of important points there, Dr. Mishra. Thanks for that. Stay on with us. But you talked about places where it is expanding, places like Kerala and even Delhi you mentioned. So let me bring in Dr. Ray over there. Dr. Ray, this time around in this spike that we are talking about, are you noticing any significant change in perhaps the symptoms that you're noticing from the patients, or has your line of treatment changed at all?
No, I don't see a significant difference in the pattern of infection yet. The way we are treating it is similar, but even that has changed over our understanding of the disease process has changed over a period of time. So our treatment of these patients have evolved over a period of time. I don't want to say that it has changed from the previous spike, but at the later, obviously what we were doing in the early phase of the disease was different by the later phase of the disease. I mean, so the surge that happened earlier. And now we are following more and more new evidence that is appearing. But the presentation of the illness doesn't seem to be very different. The only probable thing, but it is early days, is actually we are seeing a little less mortality at this present moment.
Okay.
Probably, but early days, as I said. Having said that, I just want to, Dr. Mishra explained it beautifully. Just to add context to it, you see, most viruses which cause infection mutate. I mean, the H1N1, the influenza virus, all mutate, and they are constantly mutating. And it's a race, as Dr. Mishra said, between us changing our immune patterns and our immune response, and the virus trying to survive and spread itself by changing itself, mutating. It's a constant war for not just COVID, for all viruses.
Right.
Okay, viruses and bacteria have survived for 4 billion years. We have come into this world just a few lakh years back. So it's a constant battle, even for bacterial resistance to antibiotics, etc. So just because a few mutations has happened, we should not start jumping and saying that, oh my God, what's happening? Yes, we have to be careful. We have to be watchful. We have, as scientists like Dr. Mishra are doing, they are keeping a track on the genome sequence, etc. And we will see the clinical consequences of these changes somewhere down the line. The usual probability with larger epidemics with viruses, respiratory viruses, is usually that when they become more infective, they also escape the immune response a little bit, but usually they become less deadly.
Right. But is that what's happening in Maharashtra then, Dr. Ray, before I go into Dr. Mohammed as well? Is that what's happening in Maharashtra? Because we've seen Mumbai, for example, has peaked in the past, is peaking again. Pune, for example, has had the maximum amount of seropositivity in the country, and yet we see another spike over there. Again, Dr. Mishra pointing out that Maharashtra, a place where we are seeing 20% of the double mutant strain over there. Is that the link then?
Well, it's difficult to immediately link it. We have, as Dr. Mishra said, we have to watch and keep an eye on it. Yes, seropositivity is high in these two cities, and as you were discussing with Dr. Mishra earlier, is that the potential for the infection, the pandemic, to go into smaller towns is a little higher now, because many places like Delhi, etc., and other places have a higher seropositivity and vaccination rates. So that is how pandemics move, usually in tighter, larger urban centers first, and then usually they move to the next tier of cities, and that's what is the potential worry now. There will be bumps and surges even in those cities and urban spaces which have had this disease, but will that bump or surge in these numbers be so catastrophic? Unlikely, I would think, but that brings to us the point that what do we as individuals do? And that is where the importance is to still carry on with our COVID appropriate behavior. It is not yet time to step back and celebrate yet. We need to work, our workplaces need to open up, but not yet time to have large gatherings, celebrations yet, because, COVID, it doesn't happen that pandemics happen one day and then at certain point of time they say, okay, everything is going to be fine. It is not going to happen like that. It is going to be a slow process of reducing numbers and surges.
Slow, painful and patient process. I think that's what everybody is feeling at the moment. We've got a perspective from Delhi. Let's get a perspective from Kerala as well. Dr. Mohammed Sheel is with us. To you, sir, what is the same question? Are you seeing any significant difference this time around? And if so, what are they?
Before entering to that, I think I need to explain on what, to continue to explain on what Mishra sir and Sumit Ray sir said. To have a more clarity on what does the terms like mutation, variants, and strain means. Though we use these terms in interchangeably, it's not actually the same. So mutations occurs like anything, because when there is an RNA virus, the mutations occurs in tens of thousands. It's not in thousands even, it occurs in tens of thousands. So when that significant mutation occur, then that causing the change in the physical structure of mRNA and not mRNA.
Significant
RNA,
mutation being the operative word here.
Significant mutation occurs. Then what we call as variant, and the virus that has significant mutations we call as variant. And a single variant can have multiple mutations, significant mutations can happen. Just like what is as Mishra says and the double mutation part. So if the variant is showing a different behavior, a variant is having a significantly different behavior, then we call it as a strain, a new strain. Okay. So how do we qualify something as a strain? When we call it as a UK strain, we call it as South African strain, we call it as Brazilian strain. Now, how does that qualify to be a new strain is that when we have a variant, we actually putting something called a variant under investigation. So variant under investigation, and we would put it as variant under variant of concern. We do something called variant risk assessment. So variant risk assessment classically that looks into three things. First one is whether it is more infective, that is whether it is increasing the infectivity. Second one part, whether it is causing the severity of disease or leading to death, whether it is changing the severity of disease or leading to death. And third one is obviously the immune escape part, whether the existing vaccines are effective against.
So are you seeing any of this in your patients in Kerala?
No, that's the part I'm saying. So when we say about 440K variant, which is reported in Kerala, what is that? Is that it's not just a single variant. There are multiple variants also reported because we have begun our genomic sequencing or genomic surveillance in Kerala began somewhere around in June 2020. We had our own way of doing it. We had started our initial genomic surveillance as early as June 2020. And in December 2020, what happened? December 25th, 2020, what happens is that INCASOS, what we call as that national network of the Indian network of this consortium of laboratories, the 10 laboratories which came into it, and we have actually ramped up the genomic surveillance across the nation. Now, if you look at the 11,000 cases which has been genomic sequenced, around 2,800 cases, exactly 2,032. 2,032 cases which has been genomics, the sequencing has been done from Kerala. So out of that 123 cases is the cases which is found to have this N44K variant, 440K variant. But that variant, if you look at that, has not actually been associated with any significant increase in infectivity or any significant change in the immune response. Now, what is more concerning, if you ask me, which is more concerning, is not really the proportion of double mutants which is identified, or the new variant which is reported in Maharashtra. Maybe more concerning is the fact that if it is true, the fact is that the proportion of cases with the UK strain has been like 81% of the, it is what I show in NDTV. I am not looking at the report of that. What I saw in NDTV report is that 81% of the positive strains which was sequenced from Punjab had found a increased in UK strain. So 81% UK strain out of the strains which has been sequenced is something very concerning, because what happens is that when a variant actually takes it into dominancy, as Mr. Sir has rightly pointed out, now what we see is that though we have reported that double mutant strain variant from as early as December itself, we have not seen that there is a significant increase.
So just to sum it up, what essentially you are saying, Doctor, is that we are currently talking about several strains. There is a UK strain, there's a Brazil strain, there's a South Africa strain, and then there is the double mutation strain. We need to be careful about all of these. We need to sort of, log it better, have a better understanding of what it's leading to, and then prepare ourselves accordingly. Two other major points coming out of the discussion. One, that India definitely needs to open itself up to other vaccines, which are said to be of better efficacy, know how to fight against these strains as well. And third, that it's not just in centers, in metros at the moment, smaller cities also place that need to be concerned. Very productive discussion there. Thank you all for joining us.